What's going on, everybody? This is episode 459 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller, and over here we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. Before I get into that, I got a quick question. Did y'all look at the game last night? The Georgia State Appalachian State game? Look, listen, I got a lot of respect for Appalachian State, but they did not look good last night. That don't let that score fool you. That team, don't get me wrong, outside of Cameron Peoples, really good running back, and they made some decent plays collectively. There were some decent plays, but you got to understand, you're playing against Georgia State, and I know I can't say much about Georgia State because we lost to Georgia State, but the fashion that we lost to Georgia State and the way they've been playing all season, there's more reflection on us. The Georgia Southern just we basically wet the bed against Georgia State. We have no business losing to that team. That team is atrocious, and Appalachian State is damn near no better. They're sitting at 4-3. Georgia State is at 2-5. I'm very disappointed in us as Georgia Southern Eagles that we lost to this team, and we should be able to beat Appalachian State. I'm dead serious about that. I do not like what I saw on the field yesterday when Georgia State went to Kid Brewer Stadium and played Appalachian State. It was, to me, I felt like it was really bad football, real bad football. Nevertheless, we'll talk about Appalachian State sometime down the road. Georgia State has bragging rights on us right now. They beat us. I get it. But Georgia Southern can get on a roll, and we can run the table for the rest of the season. And I'm going to talk about that right now, and it starts with Old Dominion. If this is your first time listening to or watching this show, this is the First and Frame Rate Show. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. We're going to Old Dominion, and we're going to be playing the Old Dominion Monarchs. And they're 3-3 right now. And this team is a little bit of a question mark. And I will say that because I don't know what to look at to hang our hat on to put bulletin points up to say we can attack this team or whatever the case may be. They're 3-3, 2-0 in the conference, just came off of a victory of beating Coastal Carolina, which is, pretty impressive, going to Conway, South Carolina and beating them the way they did. We'll talk about a little bit of that. And I'm going to talk about what we can do to possibly stop what this team can do against us. First and foremost, I believe it starts with the running game. Blake, I think his name is Blake Watson. This kid just ran all over. He just ran all over Coastal Carolina. I mean, he just ran all over them. I want to pull up the stats real quick so I can get it right to make sure I know what I'm talking about. I mean, the kid ran for 259 yards and had 3 touchdowns. I mean, just an explosive game for him. Also, the third quarter for Old Dominion was just phenomenal. They scored 21 points in the third quarter and closed the game out with another 14 points after already being up 14-7 at halftime. So this was somewhat of a convincing win. And in some cases, you can make it say dominant win. I mean, what more can you say about that? You got to give them credit. But when it comes to us playing against them, we have to understand that we have to stop what he's doing. Wolf, the quarterback Wolf, Hayden Wolf, I'm not too worried about him too much, but he has been fairly efficient this year. 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. There's nothing to sneeze at. Now, we also have to understand the way our defense have been playing. We put Centero on notice early with a couple of interceptions, and we end up getting 3 out of him. So it can be done. Now, the thing about this is we're going up to Old Dominion. They may feel like they can beat anybody now because they just beat an undefeated team. But you also have to understand, we should have confidence now because we just beat an undefeated team. So we're in a good situation right now where both of these teams are coming off of a victory, and we may feel like we can beat anybody. And I think with Georgia Southern, the way that we're playing right now, I think we can do this. The main thing is, like I said, we need to tackle and stop the run. If we could stop Blake Watson from running the ball, this right here will be a runaway game for us. I don't think they're going to stop our passing attack, which is actually pretty impressive because their receiver if you want to go back and forth toe to toe, their receiver Ali Jennings has over 700 yards already this season. That's pretty impressive. I didn't know that. But with the onslaught of Caleb Hood, Amari Jones, even Marcus Sanders has been stepping up, Derwin Burgess, I don't think their secondary is going to be able to stop what we're doing. I just don't believe it. Yes, they're giving up only 26 points a game, but they're only putting up 26 points a game. With us, we're giving up 30. We're putting up 38 points a game, and we're allowing 31. But this is all predicated on us, really, basically us stopping what they can do. You know, they're allowing almost 278 yards passing the game. So I don't see anything in their secondary that's going to say, okay, we're going to have a problem moving the ball on them. Once again, even if we have to have our running backs to catch out the backfield, we should be able to move the ball on these guys. At the same time, it just goes back to what our defense need to do. Our defense play anything close to what we did last week against a more potent offense that James Madison had. I think we'll be okay. Now, like I said, I'm looking at this running game. Outside of Blake Watson, I don't see anybody stepping up that can do anything. He's ran for 500 yards so far this year. A lot of that, you got to also understand, out of the 514 yards was rushing, 269 of it was from one game. So I'm not saying this is not a consistent level of play, because any running back any player can have a breakout game. So that's not to say that he can't do that again. But you also have to understand that half of those yards that he has came from one game. So I don't expect him to have another 200-yard performance, but you would want to hold him to at least anywhere between 70 and 90 yards, which before going into this game, that's basically what it was. He was getting around that much, that many yards a game, but prior to the Coastal Carolina game. Now, when it comes to Hayden Wolf, our secondary did pretty well against Centero. So Hayden Wolf, Ali Jennings, these guys are going to try to do some things to move the ball as well. And with them being home, it's good. They're going to feel more comfortable throwing the ball around and doing some things on that level. I believe that Derek Canteen can get on Ali Jennings and try to make some things happen. Tyler Bryant also stepped up last week. Anthony Wilson. When you start to think about it, from our secondary from last year, and in some cases this year, this secondary has not been too bad, to be honest. So they've been doing a really good job. If anything, Coach Harris has done a pretty good job of improving the secondary. Now the front seven, now that's one that we need to tackle. We did a pretty good job of stopping the running game against James Madison, but if that front seven can repeat that again, we could be in a situation where we could push this team. We could push this team off the field easily. We could possibly run these guys out of the stadium. Because one thing, like I said, I don't think these guys can do anything to stop Kyle Vantrease. I mean, that's just my opinion. Kyle Vantrease and company, they're going to move the ball against this team. You had pretty much the number one ranked defense last year. I mean, not last year, but you had the number one ranked defense last week come into Paulson. And I understand it's Paulson, but we had the number one ranked defense come in, and we put 578 on him. 578. So when we're going up against another defense that's not as potent or not as stout as JMU, we can move the ball, and we may have a pretty good day on coming up this Saturday. And it's going to look really nice to see us moving down into the not moving down, but moving up in the conference with some W's. Now, I'm going to tell you some things that's cause for concern. Honestly, I think that we're not going to be able to run the ball pretty well. For some reason, these guys got a pretty good pass rush, so it's going to have some type of effect on the run game. Even though they do have a good pass rush, two things that we can do to resolve that. One, try to do some some delayed handoffs, something I've been asking for us to do for a while now. I know we're capable of doing it. Well, we've done it before. So if we could get some delayed handoffs to offset that pass rush, also get the ball out quick. We got receivers, and we've been running a lot of routes so we can get the ball out quick. If we get the ball out quick and get these guys in some space, nobody wants Caleb Hood. Nobody wants Caleb Hood to be running against them. You get Caleb Hood in space, it's going to be lights out. You get Amari Jones in space, it's going to be lights out. Hell, even Jeremy Singleton, you see what he can do. I didn't even mention Jeremy Singleton earlier. You got those three guys who are really good in space, and then you got a deep threat like Durham Burgess. I mean, this team should stretch this team so wide, like we should stretch them so far to the point where Old Dominion is going to be looking for answers later on in the third quarter, trying to figure out why they're down by 10, 20, hell, I'll even say 21 points. I believe we could do that. But the only way that we'll be able to do that is defensively. We're going to have to do some things to put Old Dominion defense, put their offense on notice that, look, you're not going to move this ball. We got to get them off the field. We got to get them boys on the sideline and let Kyle Vantrease and company move the ball. We do that, it's going to be a really good day for Georgia Southern. I don't see how, I'm not going to say I don't see how it can happen. I just feel that we're capable of doing it. This is one thing I was talking about earlier in the show. How in the world we end up losing to Georgia State? Because honestly, this team is extremely talented. Georgia Southern has an extremely talented team. Now, do we have a problem with tackling? Yes. And to be honest with you, that was our detriment for the first part of the season. We couldn't do anything because we were unable of tackling a lot of the teams that we played against. The UAB game comes to mind. You got to understand, even with the UAB game, we lost 35-21. That game looked way worse than what it did because we could not tackle. The Coastal Carolina game and the Georgia State game, look, once again, the offense did everything they were supposed to do to win that game. A little bit, not so much with the Georgia State game. But Coastal Carolina, we had to lead with a few minutes, 2 minutes left. We tackle and stop these guys on a couple of plays. We win that game. Now, Georgia State, we had a lot of turnovers, something that we had to clean up, and we did very well against James Madison. If we continue that, we're going to be looking really good. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie. Turnovers do happen. You get one. You know what I'm saying? Kyle Vantrease, you get one. One turnover, okay. Yeah, we got to clean it up. But we can't have more than one, and we definitely can't have 4 interceptions. We can't have a fumble that the other team ended up recovering. You know, we're looking at a situation here where if we take care of the ball and we do us, we could beat anybody else on the rest of the schedule. If we do that, we beat anybody. And I think that's one of the things that, to me, at the end of the day, is really frustrating, because when I looked at the game last night and I watched Georgia State and App State play, Appalachian State ended up winning that game because Georgia State just basically laid down. They couldn't do nothing after the third, fourth quarter. They looked good in the first quarter, up 14-0, and that was a wrap. Sounds very familiar, right? That's what we did against James Madison. But when I look at the way that Appalachian State played as well, their secondary just does not look good. I'm sorry, their secondary don't look good. So that's what makes it so frustrating, because I know we as a team, collectively as a team, we are very, very good. Talent-wise, we're very good. We have a little bit of hiccups here, a little mishaps here we need to fix, but we're really a really good team. And I'm looking at the rest of the schedule: Old Dominion, South Alabama, which that's going to be a tough game. But the last 3, Louisiana, Marshall, App State, there's no reason why we can't beat the last 3 games, at the very least. I could possibly see maybe one more loss out of that. And that's the South Alabama game. And even with that, we're playing at Paulson, so let South Alabama be ranked again, and we play another ranked team at Paulson, we can shock the world one more time. But right now it's all about Old Dominion. And I think with Old Dominion, based on everything I said, I'm not trying to say we can't beat them. I can't say that. I'm not going to sit here and say that we can't lose to them. because it's very well possible, but we have all the tools to beat this team. We have all the tools to make it happen and walk away with a victory. It's just a few things. It's just a few things. They're big. It's a big task. But there's a few things that we need to do to beat this team. Just a few. We tackle. Don't let Blake Watson get off on the field and think he can run up against us. Because once again, like I said, his 514 yards. 259 of that was last week. You cut that by 55 or 50%, it gives you exactly what he's done on the year. Very little. So we need to find a way to stop him. Don't let him get another game like that, and force Wolf to play us force Hayden Wolf to play us in a shootout. And I don't think they have the horses to do that. So that's all I got to say about that. If you like this commentary, hit the like button. Share this podcast. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give me a 5-star rating on that Apple Podcast rating. I really appreciate it. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been amazing. I want to thank you guys for the support lately. Not only on this channel, but I do have a gaming channel as well. I don't know if anybody really knows about that. I've been getting support over there. If you're watching, if you coming from over there to watch this, I really appreciate it. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble, Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. If you want to listen on the podcast avenue, you could be your own program director where you can listen to the show at your leisure. Today, Georgia Southern, we're right in the thick of things that make things happen. That game last week against James Madison was somewhat like a turning point. Maybe we can make things happen against the rest of these teams going forward, and I have confidence that we can. I will talk more Atlanta Falcons later on. Not later on, but tomorrow. We'll talk about them against the Bengals, and we're going to get we're going to get some more coverage on both of these teams. They're playing some pretty good football right now. Nevertheless, I'm going to get out of here. You guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I'm going to get up out of here. You guys take it easy. You guys be blessed. Peace.